Hi, fourth grade, here with your reading for your response today. You're going to work your way through listening to this video and reading along with me, and then you will complete a Google Doc with questions that relate to this story. Are we there yet? Asked 11-year-old Riley. No, barked Mr. Sands. We have about 2 more hours before we arrive, and I don't want to hear anyone ask me that question again. When the Sands' family set out on their 16-hour road trip the day before, Mr. Sands had been very chipper. He was extremely excited to return to the Black Hills, where he and his family had gone on an unforgettable family vacation when he was 11 years old. Now, after 14 hours in the car, he was rather grouchy. 13-year-old Kenzie groaned. It feels like we've been in this car forever. You kids have nothing to complain about, Mr. Sands grumbled. You've been watching movies, playing video games, and texting your friends throughout the entire trip. When I was your age, your uncle and I had to look out the window or read a book. Speaking of which, look out the window to your left, said Mrs. Sands, trying to change the subject. Do you see the Badlands in the distance? There's nothing that looks like that back home, is there? Within a few minutes, the car was silent again. Mr. Sands was driving and everyone else was on their phone. Hey, Mom, said Riley, breaking the silence. Did I tell you about Mrs. Sands cut him off. Just a minute, Riley. Let me finish replying to this text message from your grandma. A few minutes later, Riley tried again. Can I tell you my story now, Mom? Can it wait? I'm busy right now, she replied as she scanned her Facebook feed. An hour passed. Suddenly, there was a yelp from the back seat. What happened? Exclaimed Kenzie. I lost my internet connection. There are areas out here where there is no wireless connection. In fact, I don't believe we will have a connection when we arrive at our cabin, explained Mr. Sands. What? Why didn't you tell me? I was planning to post all kind of pictures on Instagram. My friends will wonder what happened to me, cried Kenzie. To tell you the truth, I didn't tell you because I didn't want to have to hear you whine and complain, snapped Mr. Sands. They will have a TV in this cabin, won't they? Quipped Riley. Nope, answered Mr. Sands. Our only entertainment will be each other. Riley and Kenzie groaned in unison. Once they arrived at their small 2-bedroom cabin, they unpacked their car. Mr. and Mrs. Sands claimed the bigger bedroom. Kenzie unpacked her things in the smaller bedroom, and Riley spread out on the sofa in the living room. I sure wish I could turn on the TV and find a baseball game to watch, he said. I'm so cut off from the world, whined Kenzie. Hey, you two, said Mr. Sands. I will not let you ruin my vacation with your bad attitudes. Either help us unpack the food and make dinner, or go outside and wander around. Let's go outside, said Kenzie. An hour later, they returned, throwing open the door, out of breath. We saw the deer, cried Kenzie. It looked right at us, then ran away. And we think there were others too, continued Riley. When that one deer ran away, I think I heard others running too, but I didn't see them. We should see plenty of wildlife out here, said Mr. Sands, smiling. And we found a stream. We followed it for a long time, but then decided we better turn back, said Kenzie. We can't wait to continue exploring tomorrow, said Riley. Tomorrow we're going on a hike to the top of Harney Peak. If you enjoyed your little exploration today, you'll love what you see tomorrow, said Mr. Sands, the excitement rising in his voice. And just think, Mrs. Sands commented, if you had watched a baseball game on TV or sat here texting friends or surfing the internet, you never would have experienced that. Riley and Kenzie remained silent, not wanting to admit that Mom was right. After dinner, the sun was beginning to set. Now, what are we going to do? Asked Riley. Shall we build a campfire and roast marshmallows? Suggested Mr. Sands. Agreed Riley. That's a great idea. What were you going to tell me earlier? Mrs. Sands asked Riley as they poked their skewer through the soft marshmallow. I forgot, replied Riley. I wish we had an interconnection so I could look up some ghost stories. This campfire would be perfect for telling ghost stories. Mr. Sands sighed. You don't need an internet connection to tell ghost stories. Just use your imagination. That's too much work, said Riley. Besides, I'd never come up with anything scary that would be as good as one I could read from the internet. Mrs. Sands shook her head. You know, the whole world seems to think that the internet makes our lives so much simpler, but I'm starting to think that it's actually made our lives more complex. She paused. Gary, why don't you tell us a story from your family vacation here when you were little? Yes, agreed Mr. Sands. I'll tell you about how I first learned that I have a touch of altophobia. What's altophobia? Asked Kenzie. Listen to my story, and you'll find out, teased Mr. Sands.